Yes, everybody, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson, and this is Premier League Preview. Now, before I even get into thinking about talking about the games this weekend, and there's some actually pretty good games that we're going to talk about, we need to talk about Jose Mourinho and Paul Pogba, because it feels like the end is coming to this. It feels like there's going to be a resolution. There feels like it can't continue the way this is, and it's an embarrassment for the club and for United fans alike. So let's get straight into everything that's happened around it. So back in March, I told the Patreon group that people inside the club, people at Manchester United, did not think that both Jose and Pogba was going to be here by the end of the summer. Now, obviously they're both here, but it doesn't mean that the reasons that people were thinking like this were or are invalid. Well before any of this news came out about Barcelona, I was telling people in videos, especially like the transfer review videos that I do full-time Devils, I was trying to be subtle. I was trying to say stuff like, I wouldn't be shocked if Pogba left us this summer, and people was losing their minds like, talking utter bollocks, mate. There's no way Paul Pogba's going anywhere, stuff like that. The people in the Patreon group knew why I say this. Generally it means I've heard some stuff, but saying 100% certainty on anything, which I very rarely do, often blows up in your face, because ultimately I don't have any control over what happens with these, and as you saw with what happened with Fellaini in the summer, that was a guy that was saying laters to friends and family and people that live around him, and people inside the club were sure that he was going, and what happened? He stayed, he changed his mind, he did a U-turn. So when things like that happen, you look like a dick if you've said 100%. Now, Pogba and Jose fell out. Regardless of what they're saying, it happened. I don't know the 100% exact reason that they fell out, but I do know that Carrick and Pogba approached Jose with something to do with the style and Pogba's role in the team around about the time of the Sevilla game. I can't remember if it was before or after. If you're on the Patreon group, you might be able to tell us. All of those videos are still there from February and March, and it feels mental when you go back and watch some of those videos now. Now, what we saw over the summer, I think, was a planned, deliberate attempt at Pogba leaving. Comments from Raiola, not accidental. Comments from Barcelona, like Piqué and Suarez, not accidental. Comments and actions from Jose were not accidental. And the stuff that I'm talking about there was, he gave him the armband, he challenged him, he then distanced himself from the rift, which I thought was really un-Jose-like. And if you notice, he's done that with all of the players that have ended up leaving the club. He did that with Schweinsteiger, with Memphis, with Schneidlin, talked about how professional he was, it basically was just going, it's not me, I don't want to get rid of him. And then they go. Then Pogba spoke. He said how he needed to fix his attitude after the Brighton game. Speculation started when he went on international duty, possible mistranslations. Don't know what will happen in the next few months. I still don't know if that was real or if that was a mistranslation, because there's a lot of things that you could say that grammatically is correct, but you don't know the intent behind some words. Like, to try and give you an example, if I say, see you later to someone, if you translate that word for word and you're not a native English speaker, you might say, Steve arranged to see his mate later on that day, which he didn't do, rather than it being a bit more of a throwaway sort of thing. So I think you needed a native French speaker to be able to translate exactly what was being said. And with all the translations being, from French into German and then German into English, I think that's very difficult to do. So I'm not going to pin anything on that, but it wasn't nice, it wasn't pleasant, I don't think. But then he sought out the press following the Wolves game. Doesn't usually stop in the mix zone, supposedly, but he sought out some reporters and then poured his heart out to them about all sorts of stuff, stayed and answered questions. Again, not something I think he's doing accidentally, definitely something that I think he's doing deliberately. Again, a possible blowing up of a comment. He said we have to attack. He was asked about the movement ahead of him. Now, I didn't think there was much wrong or much to blow up in what he said. I thought it was accurate, but it's the way it gets reported, I think, is a bit of a ball bust for us sometimes. But again, of course, blown out of all proportion. Then it comes to this, with what's happened this week. Now, Jose's writing what he's saying, Pogba's writing what he's saying. The fact that this is being played out after an obvious falling out that people have kind of denied is worrying for me. So, Jose is aware that Sky TV cameras are filming. It's contractual obligation. And for me, this is something that should have happened and been said behind closed doors. There's no need for you to get to the football pitch for this. If he's got a good relationship with players, which supposedly he does have, people say about, he texts them this, that and the other, and Pereira said he was texting him constantly on holiday. Why not text Paul Pogba and say, mate, explain to me this? He cussed him out in front of the cameras to get a reaction from him. So that would then go down and be noted. Now, supposedly, he's apologised or he's retracted kind of what he said, but not to Pogba. Pogba supposedly wasn't there in the dressing room when he said, look, we got that wrong. It was all uploaded after the game and that. It has turned out to be a mistake, but I think the fact that Jose decided to make this public, knowing the cameras was there, that I don't think's on. Obviously, he's found out that it just was uploaded late because of the signal inside the ground and stuff. But I think this is highlighting and showing the underlying problems that we've got. Now, the reason that he's come out and said that Pogba won't ever make captain again. There's a PR battle going on here. If you allow Pogba to win, you're going to fuck the dynamic of the dressing room. And if you allow Jose to win, you're... And by win, I mean, if you allow Pogba to win here, you're going to have the manager lose control of the dressing room. If you allow Jose to win, and I think by winning, it'll be Paul Pogba getting sold, you weaken Manchester United without a shadow of a doubt. And you've allowed Pogba and Raiola, and I don't think Pogba's completely innocent in this in the slightest, to have engineered a move away from the club. And I think sometimes, like what Fergie did with Gabby Hines, and what he's done countless times before, arguably with Paul Ince, who wanted to go and play for Liverpool, the manager has to have to say it. Whether or not you agree with Jose being the right man, he's never going to be the right man if he's allowed to be walked all over. He has to stand up, and he has to be allowed to stand up for himself. Until we sack him, this is the guy that's in charge of our club, and he is the one that it rises and falls with. The buck stops with him. You have to allow him to be the manager. The same way you had to allow him, and they didn't, to be the manager in the summer, running rule over his own targets, deciding who he wants to sign and who he doesn't want to sign. With Ed Woodward sticking his oar in there, is Ed Woodward sticking his oar in again over what goes on with Paul Pogba? Now, think back to 2005, Roy Keane and Sir Alex Ferguson, greatest manager of all time, greatest captain this club's ever had. Keane had earned the right to criticise anybody at United. He'd earned that right. Now you can talk about Keane was on his way out, this, that and the other, it doesn't matter. Fergie, supposedly extremely loyal, greatest captain the club's ever had. He maintained the highest of standards. But when he did it in a public fashion, via MUTV, United and Sir Alex Ferguson sacked him. This was at a time when Sir Alex Ferguson was being questioned and criticised for what was going on with Mourinho, the invincible Premier League team of Arsenal. People were saying Fergie's lost it, he's past it, he doesn't know what he's doing anymore. But he was allowed to make a hell of a decision, and people criticised him for that decision, getting rid of Roy Keane, sacking him, ripping his contracts up and saying, get out. Because Fergie had to have the control, and he didn't like the fact that it had gone public with him criticising. I think it was Fletcher and Richardson who the people that he was really digging out. Some things that belong in a dressing room are now being played out publicly. From briefings to the journalists, he shed, she shed, I want, he wants, to what's happening inside the dressing room. There's a loss of discipline from player and the manager. And what worries me the most is that we saw this under Moyes, these leaks, this erosion and this undermining of trust and this almost taking the piss out of that. When you heard Moyes had been asking Rio Ferdinand to look at tapes of Phil Jagielka, why do you think that came out? That came out because Rio Ferdinand wanted it out, as if he's like, who the hell is he asking me to look at tapes of Phil Jagielka? Was it unprofessional from Rio? No doubts. Was he right? Yeah, no doubt. But that erosion of trust of what's going on in a dressing room, that's not right. And that is what I feel we're at now. And it feels like Jose Mourinho, the clock was ticking the day he signed. The day he stood on Old Trafford with a scarf, the clock was ticking. But it more than ever feels now that a couple more results, and I don't think Zidane being in London was a massive coincidence at all yesterday. I think that there is probably no more than a handful of results away from Jose being pushed out the door and someone being brought in and saying, can you work with this team? Off you go. Players need to accept responsibility as well as Jose needing to accept responsibility. They've seen off LVG, they've seen off Moyes, and if they say off Jose Mourinho, what evidence have we got to suggest that the next man will be any different? I think United are sleepwalking into a crisis at the moment, and it's from top to bottom. There's a lack of leadership inside the dressing room, which maybe Paul Pogba's doing. Maybe Paul Pogba is speaking out because he is a true leader. But I can't buy that when he's also trying to engineer a move away. If he wasn't trying to engineer a move away, and he was trying to no, this is what we're doing at this club, I could buy that. But the fact that I know that there's a move to Barcelona trying to be engineered, I can't buy that. The manager needs to accept more responsibility. He does have a squad good enough and capable of... Yeah, he didn't get your targets. All right, cool. That was fucking ages ago. Nearly 2 months ago. Pull your pants up, stop crying, and fucking get on with it and prove that you're a top manager. Woodward has to stop fucking sticking his oar in when it comes to football matters. And the Glazers, as we saw with what come out with Swiss Ramble yesterday, we spent a hell of a lot more on their debt than we have players in the last 9 years, and that's not acceptable. Righty, on that note, this is sponsored by Perfect 10. You can win 10 grand just for guessing 10 results this weekend. It is free to enter. We're going to have a look at how I'm going to play that this weekend before we get into the Premier League preview. So let's have a look. Here's who I'm going for on Perfect 10 this weekend. Righty then, to win Perfect 10, terms and conditions do apply, and obviously it's over 18s and UK based to win it. It's completely free to enter. All you got to do is select 10 results like I'm just about to do here right now, and if you get them 10 right, you win 10 grand. It's as simple as that. I've got a little league going, and at the end of the month, which is after this weekend, I'm going to be giving away a prize to the top person in the group, and we're going to do that every month, and hopefully it's going to get better and better and better the more people I get in the group. But I need more people in the group, so hit the link in the description below. Come and join my league, and let's see if you can just win some prizes, man. So, Newcastle versus Leicester. That's the first game that we've got on our hands at the moment. Newcastle proper struggling, but they have played some serious teams. Leicester, I didn't think they was going to win last weekend. I certainly didn't think they was going to rack up the points like they did. I'm still going to doubt Leicester, and I'm going to say draw. Right then, Millwall against Sheffield United now. Sheffield United obviously playing away here. Millwall at home. Millwall only 1 win in 9. Terrible form. Lost the last 2. Sheffield United, they're 4th in the table at the moment. They're a little bit in different form, but they're doing all right. I'm going to go with Sheffield United on this one. I think they've tripped us up a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, but I think they're going to do the business for us this time around. We've got Preston versus West Brom. Now, Preston are rock bottom, only 5 points in 9 games. Terrible performances from Preston at the moment. Lost 3 on the bounce. Not got any confidence in them doing anything at all whatsoever in this game. But that being said, West Brom don't have the best defence. Now, they've conceded 12 goals in 9 games. I think you can get at them, but there's no way that this is going to be anything other than a West Brom win this time around. QPR versus Swansea. All these games get thrown in here because they're an absolute nightmare to pick at. This is a real 50-50. We've not had that many draws that have come off for us, and there has been a few draws because these games are always so tight. These two are that close in the table. I'm going to go for a draw. I think that's the way it's going to be going down. Into League One then, we're looking at Bradford against Bristol. Bradford on an absolute stinking losing streak. I think they're going to turn that around and get a draw this weekend. Rochdale against Portsmouth. Portsmouth are flying high, undefeated in the league at the moment. Rochdale, bang mid-table side. I've got to go with an away win on this one. Portsmouth to keep that run going. Walsall against Accrington then. Walsall are flying high, doing pretty well in the league, and Accrington are just draw specialists. I think a draw is probably a good shout for this one as well. Wycombe against Southend. I reckon, again, this is they're so close and so hard to pick. I'm going to go with an away win on this one. Quite a lot of away wins. In fact, I haven't had a single home win so far in my picks at the moment, so I reckon we're probably going to have to pull a couple of those in. We go to League 2 then for the penultimate game. We've got Exeter facing off against Port Vale. Exeter are flying high at the moment. Port Vale bang in the middle, 14th place. I think another away win, but we've got one last game to save us, and I reckon that's Chelsea against Liverpool. And I think with the way Chelsea have been playing, the midweek League Cup victory against Liverpool won't change up too much. I think Chelsea got a little bit of confidence going into this one. That is the home win that I am going for, and I'm going for 27 goals. That will do for my selections. If you want to get involved, as I said, hit the link in the description below. Free to enter, come and win £10,000. So let's talk about the rest of the Premier League games that we'll be doing again this weekend then. So United against West Ham, I'm going to be covering that one on my channel tomorrow. So make sure if you're subscribed, hit the notification and get that one when it goes live. It should be live at 3 o'clock on Friday, so come and join us. It will be live. We will be taking questions as well. Now, Arsenal against Watford. Arsenal won 5 games in a row, and they've turned their season around after a really slow start under Emery. Watford are sitting in 4th place. They started strong with 4 consecutive wins, but obviously United put a stop to that one. And I think this is a very good test for both sides, actually. And I think they're going to share the honours. I'm going to go with a 2-2. Let's see if we can get a decent little bet going this weekend with some of the bets that I'm going to be sticking on, or some of the predictions that I'm going to be making. Everton against Fulham. Everton only won one game so far, and they've conceded more goals than they've scored after starting off quite brightly. Fulham have got very similar stats. Everton have only got 1 more point, and they're in the same area league. It's 12th plays 15th. Mitrovic could be the player to separate these, but I think Everton are going to turn it around, and I'm seeing 2-1 Everton for this game. Huddersfield against Tottenham. Huddersfield still yet to win. Tottenham in 5th. Enough said. Huddersfield's current results against the top 10 teams this season, they've had an absolute slapping. 3-1, 3-0, 6-1. Mora still somebody to watch at Tottenham, I definitely think. Kane could come out of the scoring drought against this one, but I think they're going to make it tough for them, and I'm going to say it's going to be 1-0 to Spurs. City against Brighton then. So while Brighton's only decent result has come against United, City's worst result is a 1-1 draw. They've scored 19 goals. Aguero and Silva have been getting 5 and 6 respectively. They're also playing with some serious confidence. They've put 6 in, they've put 5 in, and they could get a large goal margin again. They're really racking up the goals for column big time, and I'm going to say this is at least 3. It might even be 4-0 this weekend for them. Newcastle against Leicester then. So as we said earlier, Newcastle are really struggling this season. Just 4 goals and having had 8 put past them. Leicester's goals are pretty well spread amongst their forwards. But I just have a feeling that Newcastle are going to start to turn this one around just a little bit. And I'm going 1-1 this time around for them. Wolves against Southampton. Both sides have scored 6 goals so far this season, and Wolves got the confidence factor, having achieved the 1-1 draw with Manchester City, and obviously coming and being a bit of a nuisance at Old Trafford as well. Ruben Neves looking absolutely fantastic. I don't see anything except a Wolves victory here, and I'm going to say 2-0 Wolves. And that's it for the Premier League preview this weekend. Thank you guys for joining us. Do you think we should start doing a team of the week as a little bit of a review as well? Let me know in the comments what you think about that one. Please come and get involved with the Perfect 10. Come and join my league. Let's have a real good go for it. I'm going to be giving away prizes. It's free to enter. You might win a prize for coming top of the league, and you will win £10,000 in cash if you're able to guess all 10 correctly. And it's free to enter. Why wouldn't you do it? Thank you guys for joining us. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.